everything, I mean everything, seems to be falling in place for the Philadelphia Eagles this week as they're 4-point favorites on the New England Patriots, who have a wide receiver problem, have an offensive line problem, and it looks like the Eagles are getting ready to double moonwalk.
You want a war? You're going to get one.
Drop it.
What was that? He had enough time for one more play.
He had an opportunity to win that game.
But the referee screwed us. The brother screwed us.
I'm upset, but
the brother screwed us.
At least they fought back and tried.
Only Cowboys game.
You
The
literally.
brother screwed us. The brother screwed us. Yeah, we had one man opportunity for one more play.
Dallas still stinks. Go by the way, King Dingbat here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Be hanging in there. So the Eagles are sitting pretty, headed into week one. It couldn't be any better than it is now. We're 4-point favorites. I expect that spread to grow. And the New England Patriots are banged up in the positions they can least afford to be when playing the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles also released an unofficial depth chart, as well as we now have team captains, 2 of which are wide receivers, and 2 of them are going off this year. We're going to get into all of it in a second, but before we do that, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled, pause, Eagles content creator in all of the internet. And if you've been subscribed for a while, I just want to thank you so much for all the support you give to me. It truly means a lot. Just a quick reminder, Thursday, I will be streaming the Chiefs game, the NFL kickoff game, so that should be a lot of fun. If you want to come hang out, definitely do that. As well, of course, we stream every Eagles game, and I also will be doing the Sunday night game, Cowboys versus Giants, as the Giants are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys and send the Cowboys into shock and into panic mode, knowing they have Aaron Rodgers coming up next. It should be a lot of fun. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. So make sure if you guys want, make sure to come hang out. It should be great. Should be a great time. Now, the Eagles released or they named their captains today. We'll start with that. Really, no surprises here as far as who their captains are. We'll go over this list real quick. Here's the captains for the Eagles this year. Quarterback Jalen Hurts, wide receiver A.J. Brown, wide receiver DeVonta Smith, Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Darius Slay, and Jake Elliott. Now, this makes perfect sense to me. For the Eagles, they actually have 2 guys at one position. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, both who are new to being captains, which I think are great. I mean, to me, these guys are some of the most valuable guys on your team, and I think you got 2 legit number 1 wide receivers. It would be a crime to have like A.J. Brown a captain and not DeVonta Smith, or DeVonta Smith a captain and not A.J. Brown. You can't do that. They're both deserving. Because they're both number 1 wide receivers. We're literally talking about 2 number 1 wide receivers that complement each other very well. Both, by the way, because I've seen a lot of arguments on Twitter over this, both, by the way, are better than CeeDee Lamb. And after this year, you won't even be able to debate it. I find it so funny, Cowboy fans, right? They caught themselves in a trap. They're sitting there and they're fighting about DeVonta Smith versus CeeDee Lamb, DeVonta Smith versus CeeDee Lamb, and they forgot totally that we still have another wide receiver on that team, A.J. Brown. And by them arguing about DeVonta Smith, they kind of are admitting, yeah, A.J. Brown is definitely better than CeeDee Lamb, which he is. And now they're worried that DeVonta Smith is better than CeeDee Lamb, which he is, meaning the Eagles' 2 top receivers are better than any receiver the Cowboys have. Our second wide receiver is better than any Cowboy receiver they have. Going to be a tough season for the Cowboys. Going to be a tough season for Mark Holmes. I'm telling you, this guy is not going to make it through the year. It's just my opinion. He's definitely not. But those are your captains, and I feel pretty good about it. Now, here I have the Eagles' unofficial depth chart. This is put together by the Eagles communication department. I have not looked at it. This is the first time I'm looking at it. I was at work when it came out, so I kind of, marked it, and I came home, put a video. We're opening it up now, and I kind of want to go through this with you guys, see what I think. So let's just open this thing up. Here we go. All right. So here's your offense. All right. I see. No, okay. So you have, I'm going to start with the quarterback. Jalen Hurts, of course, then Mariota, then McKee. Then you have your running backs, Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, DeAndre Swift. Now, Nick Sirianni had a press conference today, and in the press conference, he did talk about running back by committee. These are in alphabetical order, just like last time. So what they're saying is we don't really have a number one running back at this point. They're going to go with the hot hand. I think over time this will turn into DeAndre Swift being the number one guy, but we'll see. Your starting wide receivers, DeVonta Smith, A.J. Brown. Interesting. Quez Watkins is your starting slot wide receiver. So they got Quez ahead of Oz. Then Dallas Goddard, your tight end, LIINE Johnson, right tackle, Cam Jurgens, right guard, center Kelsey, Landry Dickerson, left tackle Jordan Mailata. None of these surprised me at all. And then just looking at some of the backups, I mean, you only got 4 wide receivers. That's crazy to me. I still think we need another one. Although we got some guys on the practice squad. Then Jack Stoll's your number 2 tight end, Grant Calcaterra. So all that, there are no surprises when it comes to the offense as far as I'm concerned. As far as the defense goes, let's see. Defensive end, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett, a backup, huh? Then you have defensive tackles, Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis. And then Milton Williams and Jalen Carter are your backups. I thought Jalen Carter would start, but being that it's week 1, I could see Fletcher Cox starting. I don't think it's going to be long before Jalen Carter is officially starting. The one thing about the defensive tackle position here is they rotate these guys in a lot. So Jalen Carter is going to get plenty of snaps. Let's see. Your other defensive end, Josh Sweat. Sam linebacker, Hassan Reddick, Patrick Johnson, Nolan Smith. That makes sense. Although I put Nolan Smith ahead of Patrick Johnson. Mike, Nakobe Dean, Will, Zach Cunningham, Christian Ellis. That makes sense. Cornerback, James Bradbury, Darius Slay. Slot corner, Avonte Maddox. Yeah, then you got Job, Ringo, and Goodrich. Where is... Eli Ricks is listed as the 3rd corner over Josh Job. I think Eli Ricks should be ahead of Ringo. And then your starting safeties, Justin Edmonds or Terrell Edmonds or Justin Evans. And then you have Blankenship and Sidney Brown. So Sidney Brown's not even listed as a starter. I think he should definitely be starter, but it looks like it's going to be Edmonds. And remember, this is not official. This is an unofficial depth chart. Then you got kicker, Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato. Punt returner, they got listed as Oz. So that's interesting. Oz, they have listed as the punt returner. We never got to see him return punts. For all we know, he could be pretty good. If he is, then that's even better. So Oz is your punt returner. And then Quez Watkins is listed as the backup. Covey is on the practice squad. They could bring him up later. Your kick returner, Boston Scott. All of this pretty much for me makes sense. I would have Sidney Brown starting, but that's just me. The only thing here is there's no punter. I've never seen a depth chart where they literally have no position filled for one position. No player filled for one position. That's crazy. So the Eagles, obviously, they're going to have to do something with this roster. They're going to have to make a move, bring up a punter, unless they're planning on going for it on 4th down. They did work out another punter, that man kid from Pittsburgh we talked about. They worked him out today. We'll see if they sign him. However, I guess Aaron Sipos will be brought up. He could be brought up 3 times before he has to be put on the permanent active roster. So I expect it to be Siposs punting unless they sign somebody, in which case I think they'll end up cutting Siposs. But that's pretty much your depth chart. No surprises, and it is unofficial. So we'll see what happens. Now, as far as this game goes, this Sunday, we will be doing an Eagles-Patriots preview on Friday. I always put out my previews every year for those that have missed. I put out my previews every Friday, so look for that. And I will say this, though. The Eagles right now are 4-point favorites, and I don't think it's looking good for the New England Patriots. If you look at how things are lining up in terms of injury, it looks like they got some problems. There's talk that JuJu's Smith-Schuster, who we can't stand, by the way, remember in the Super Bowl, they're saying that his knee is on the verge of explosion. And I'm not making up. That was what they said. His knee is on the verge of exploding. Pause. That's not good. That's not good, but he definitely has knee problems, and that makes you wonder, how effective is he going to be for the Patriots? He's supposed to be their number 1 wide receiver. They also have DeVonta Parker, but I don't worry about him either. I don't think he is what he was a few years ago, and he's got Mac Jones thrown to him, who I still think the jury is out. So the New England Patriots, and I've said this going into this season, New England Patriots are going to have a problem throwing the ball against the Eagles. They're going to have a problem, even if Schuster and Parker and all their receivers are healthy, they're going to have a problem. You can clearly tell by just watching them that that's not going to be their strong point. They are going to have to run the ball, and they're going to have to run the ball effectively. I don't know if they can run enough to keep up with the Eagles. I could see a situation where this game is close, maybe in the first half, and the Eagles pull away. The Eagles are 4-point favorites. I expect that to grow by the end of the week. The other problem the Patriots seem to have is that their offensive line is in trouble. Okay, listen, if your offensive line is in trouble going up against the Eagles, you got big problems. All right, so you mean to tell me that the Patriots, they have offensive line problems and they have wide receiver problems going into this game against the Eagles? I think that's a bad combination. One, if you can't keep up with the Eagles in the passing game, the Eagles eventually will pull away. And I can see a situation where the Patriots just cannot move the ball through the air enough to keep up with the Eagles. And by the second half, this game gets out of hand. Secondly, the Patriots' offensive line, they just lost Riley Reef from the last preseason game. He's out, 4 games? So I don't even know what they're going to be doing at right tackle, let alone a lot of their offensive line has been banged up already. So they've got a banged up line going up against one of the best defensive lines in the league. Jalen Carter may pull out 2 sacks, and I'm going to make a little prediction. Jalen Carter will get the first sack for the Eagles this year. He will record the Eagles' first sack, and here's my second prediction. The second sack of the season will be Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter get on the board early this year. They're both going to get sacks, and I think New England, it's not looking good how things are lining up in terms of injury. And obviously, we'll wait till Friday when we get the final injury report to do the preview video, and we'll talk about it. But if New England's going to have problems at wide receiver and offensive line, to me, those are the 2 areas you can't afford to be thin at or have problems in when you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know how they're going to move the ball against Avonte Maddox, Bradbury, and Slay when you got banged up wide receivers. DeVonta Parker really doesn't scare me like he might have a few years ago. And JuJu sounds like he's not even 100%. How many snaps can this guy take with a knee ready to explode? It doesn't sound good for them. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. So I think after week 2 of the NFL is complete, the Eagles will be 2-0, the Giants will be 1-1, the Washington no-names will be 1-1, and the Dallas Cowboys will be 0-2. It's not looking good for the Cowboys. You cannot afford to lose that game to the Giants because Aaron Rodgers, he always beats you, and he's going to beat you again. It's going to be ugly in Dallas, baby. It's going to be ugly. and I absolutely love it. Denzel Washington out.